Welcome. It is amazing to see that we have such an international crowd today who have joined us for the introduction to effective giving, doing good by donating effectively. I am super excited and honored to welcome you today, and also grateful that you made the time in the busy week before Christmas to be here tonight. Well, my name is Julia van Boven. I am one of the co-founders of the School for Moral Ambition, fulfilling the role of community director. But maybe more interesting for tonight is that I am one of the 10% pledgers, one of the more than 10,000 people who donate 10% of their income. And what that all means and what's the impact, you will learn today. Because that's the whole purpose of why we are here today. Because we want to introduce you to another way of making a massive impact. I'm assuming most of you are here because you know the School for Moral Ambition, and you've probably heard my co-founder Rutger speak about changing the course of your career and making maximum impact that way. But what we didn't talk about so much yet is another way of making a radical difference in the world, and that is donating to effective charities. Maybe a fun fact to share before we dive in is that Rutger actually started his path to moral ambition by taking the 10% pledge and donating parts of his income himself. So no matter where you are in your impact journey, this is a great place to start or a great place to continue. Well, and why tonight is special, not just because we're introducing this topic to you, part of our Moral Ambition community, but also because it is the formal kickoff of our partnership with Giving What We Can, the expert organization and the global community for effective giving. And we are really, really, really excited to finally join forces and show what you can do this way to you. Well, tonight, what is on the program, or today for some of you who are not in the same time zone? In just a bit, I'm going to give the floor to Sjir Hoeijmakers, who is the CEO of Giving What We Can, and he will give you an introduction to effective giving. So we're all at the same knowledge level. After that, I'm super honored to welcome Rob Mader here in the call, who is the founder and CEO of the Against Malaria Foundation. And I could not imagine a better example of a highly effective charity that you could donate to. Well, I hope by then you feel that you have received so much information that you need to structure your thoughts. The breakout rooms are to help you do that. And finally, we'll give you some next steps and options to get involved. So that's it. I think we're ready to get started. So with that, I'm looking forward to invite Sjir Hoeijmakers, CEO of Giving What We Can, to take the stage and introduce you to this way of making an impact, effective giving. Sjir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Julia. I'm going to share my screen. I think we're going to switch screen shares because I want to do a few bit more interactive things. So let's see if that works. There we go. Should be appearing now. All good? Yes, great. All right, there we go. So hi, everyone. Nice to see you, and thanks for having us. Thanks for all being here and for your interest in this topic that I'm so passionate about. Because like Julia, I am a 10% pledger myself, and I was so before I worked at Giving What We Can myself. And what that means, taking a 10% pledge, is that you dedicate 10% of your income, your lifetime income, or at least 10% of your income, to wherever you think it can do the most good. Like Julia said, there are now over 10,000 people who have done this, including her and Rutger, her co-founder, and many other members of the School for Moral Ambition community who have taken such a pledge. And then another 1,200 people who are currently on a trial pledge, which is a kind of step towards a 10% pledge where you can choose your own percentage between 1 and 10% and choose your own amount of time to not immediately go for 10% lifetime is a bit of a big step. And so a lot of people want to try it out and take a trial pledge first. I did so myself as well a couple of years ago. Giving What We Can really exists simply to spread the word about effective giving and these pledges, and then to help people who have taken these pledges to fulfill them. We're not there to police people to do this, but we're really there to support them in doing this. For example, by providing them with up-to-date research on effective charities, and by making it really easy for people to donate. So we have a donation platform that you can use to donate to highly effective charities like the Against Malaria Foundation, from we have Rob Mader today. Now, but you might ask, that all sounds maybe great, effective charity, what does it mean? And why have all these people taken a pledge to give so much of their income to these effective charities? What inspired them to do so? And so, even though there's, of course, many reasons for this, and every pledger has their own story, I'm going to share two key insights that we've been sharing as Given We Can for the past 15 years that have really inspired, I think, a lot of these people to do so, or some version of these two key insights. So I'm going to go into those with you. And in that way, I'll also introduce effective giving to you. So the first key insight is that most of us are richer than we realize. So you might ask, how rich am I? And we often get this question. A lot of people Google this, and they actually find our calculator, which you can fill out yourself. And like I said, I wanted to make this a little bit more interactive. So we're going to fill this out a little bit, the calculator, so you know how it works, and you can also try it at home. I'm going to see if I can do this. So I'm going to click on the link and then stop sharing the screen and share instead the calculator. Here we are on my webpage. And you should be able to see that now. And this is the calculator, How Rich Am I calculator. And you can put in your own income here and your country of residence. This is important because we adjust this How Rich Am I calculator to cost of living in a country. So it's not just about the amount of income you earn, but also how you can spend it and whether you can actually use it for yourself. So for example, let's say we're in the Netherlands, which is where I'm currently based. And let's say my income in the Netherlands, a fairly normal income in the Netherlands, maybe post-tax, so after tax, might be something around like 30,000 euros for a person here. Now let's see where we are at. You're in the top 5% of the world. So if you're kind of a regular person in the Netherlands, you're often in the top few percent of the world's income distribution. And in fact, if you are, I think it's about 60,000 euros, somewhere in that vein, you're already in the top 1% of the world. And I think even if you're relatively poor in the Netherlands, so say you're at $19,000 or 20, let's say $20,000, these are, you are still in the top 91, in the top 9% of the world's people in terms of your income. And in this calculator, you can delve further into comparing what that means. So we have these different images and descriptions of what it means to live in different places with this amount of money per day. And in this case would be here, relatively far out, and then there's more information. And so a lot of people learn about this in one way or another, and then find this kind of changes their perspective a little bit. They thought, oh, there's always these billionaires, they could do a lot more, or there are a few people very poor in the world, but most people are actually quite well off. And then they learn about this fact. Let me go back to my presentation. Let's see. So let's go. And share. You should be able to see it again. Yes, we're back. Okay, so once you've learned about this, you might think, and that's what many of our pledgers think, we hear from them that, hey, maybe it isn't all up to the top few percent of the world to do this. Maybe I am part of the top few percent. And so people react differently. Some people think, hey, I might want to share that privilege a little bit because I've often been lucky living in a country like the Netherlands and generally being among those top few percent. And some other people might think, oh, I was thinking the top 1% should maybe do this, but maybe I am part of the top 1% myself. And this is one of the reasons we hear most often. However, the second key reason is maybe even more surprising, and that's also one of the reasons Given We Can exists today, is that let's see, can you still see my presentation?
Yeah.
Then I am not on it myself. Let's see. I can't see it myself, so that's hard.
I can share it for you if you like.
Is it visible now? Am I scrolling through it now?
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect, then it is there. Great. So the second thing, like I said, the second big insight here is that you can do 100 times more good than you think you maybe can. You can do a lot more good than you probably think you can. And this is through this concept of effective giving. Many people give to charity, and most charitable giving is inspired by some emotion, by some willingness to improve the world. However, most people don't approach charity like they do, for example, buying a new TV. When they buy a new TV, they go online and they look around and they shop for the best possible TV with the best possible specs, and they'll find the one that's also costing the cheapest amount for what they want out of a charity. Out of a TV. For charities, however, most people give reactively or give intuitively based on some life event that happened or something like that. And that means that what charities often compete for is not for impact, but they compete for donors' attention. They compete for whether donors feel intuitively pulled towards them. And that creates these huge differences between some charities who are regular charities having 1x impact, and some charities who do a lot more good but don't have the resources to really do a lot more of that. This is what we mean with effective giving. And effective giving is looking for those few charities which might not do the most emotively appealing thing, but through their work, in fact, can and do a lot more good than many other charities. And these charities can be found through looking at independent impact evaluations done by impact evaluators across various cause areas, across various worldviews. And through doing this, you can find some of these really high impact opportunities. Now, Given What We Can, like I said, exists to support people to find some of these charities. And so we aggregate kind of the information out there on this independent research done by various evaluators that we work with. And in this way, we help donors find the most effective charities. Now, that doesn't mean that there's one most effective charity or that you can easily rank all charities in some ways. It depends on, it's much more complicated than that. It depends on you. It depends on whether you are, what your worldview is. So whether you believe that we should consider animals as part of your moral concern, or whether you should take more future generations into account in that, and various such ethical questions. And so rather than having one top charity in the world, there are a collection of highly effective charities that we generally recommend to people depending on their worldview. It's also more complicated because what's most effective changes every year. It depends on which charity actually needs the money most. And this whole field of impact evaluation is relatively new. And so we don't think we actually have all the answers. We're really just scratching the surface. But even with that little bit of research, we found these huge differences between charities, and it makes it so valuable to share this insight with you today, which is also why I transitioned from being an impact researcher myself to ultimately becoming CEO of Given What We Can and spreading the word about this, because I found it so important more people would learn about this, like I had learned about it myself. Now, this insight may make it sound may sound a bit abstract, like 100 times is a lot. And you'll hear about a very concrete example later from Rob. However, I also wanted to give you one more other concrete example to show it's not just about one, but it can be in various different cause areas across the world. And so one other cause area that many people are concerned about is animal welfare. And you can see some cute pictures here of dogs and of chickens on the right. I'm sharing this because the left picture probably appeals to a lot of people. It appeals to people who want to immediately want to pet these dogs and want to help. And the right picture might be less appealing to many people, even though biologically there's not that strong reasons to think that dogs are much more sentient or can suffer a lot more than chickens. And so many people in the world give to dogs and cat shelters, which is great. We looked into one that's called the Battersea Dogs and Cat Shelter in the UK. That's one of the most popular ones there. And they report that they can help one dog or cat for about a year for about $3,000. Now that's good. That's great. That means that for about $10, you're helping a cat and a dog or a dog live a better life for a day. And that's maybe worth your money. That might be better than spending it on a very expensive coffee or something like that, right? However, there are also charities working on extreme suffering by animals like chickens who are in these terrible conditions in factory farms, and who need money but don't have the money to campaign for better welfare commitments there. And so I'm going to do a quick poll. I know we haven't set up the polling function, but I wanted to kind of improvise and bring in some more interactivity in it. So I'm going to ask you how much better you think, or how much cheaper it is to help one chicken for a whole year out of a cage by one of the most effective charities working on factory farming. And so I'm going to give you some options, and I'll give you all of them first so that you know what you can choose from. So one is it maybe around $1,000 for one chicken? Is it $100 for one chicken? Is it $10 for one chicken for a whole year? Or is it even less than that? So these are four options. Have a think about this for yourself for a moment. So I just told you that it costs 3,000 to help a dog for a whole year. What about helping a chicken out of a cage for a whole year? Right. So you've all had something in your mind. And I'm not going to do the public poll here again because I haven't set up the functionality, but I hope you have one in your mind. I'll give you the answer now. And the answer is it's about 10 cents for a chicken to be helped for one whole year. So that's 30,000 times cheaper than helping a dog or a chicken, a dog or a cat by a regular charity in that area. And a lot less money is spent on helping chickens than dogs and cats. And this is just to give you an idea that maybe you care more about dogs and cats than chickens, but maybe 30,000 is a bit much to care more about one animal than another if we look biologically at how different they are. And so this is one reason many people who've taken a pledge are inspired to also give to, for example, animal welfare. Now, this was one example, and you'll hear about another inspiring example in a bit. But I want to end by one more thing that's very important, I think, to stress in this regard. Because it might sound from my story just now that I am telling you you should not give to intuition-based or ineffective or personal charities. You should only give to what I just call effective giving or things based on impact-focused evaluations. And I don't think that's the right way of thinking about it. And as you can see here, there's the philosopher Steinbreurs, a Belgian philosopher, came up with this nice metaphor here of three buckets that you can allocate your spending to, so the money you have, how you spend it. Everyone has the first bucket. So you spend it on yourself, on everyone around you, on your personal life. Now, many people also give something to things they think are personally important to them, so to their personal causes. And that's great. That's probably often better than spending it on yourself, and it's generally really a positive thing to do. And I sometimes compare this to, for example, helping a stranger on the street. That's maybe not the most effective use of your time, but it is really a sign of a generous person to help other people whenever you can. And then there's this third bucket that I just talked to you about, this effective giving bucket, that I would separate out from these other things and really is a whole new ball game of trying to solve world problems through your giving. And so what I'm saying is not that we should not give to personal causes and not that we should not spend on ourselves, but what if all of us would spend some percentage of our income on these effective charities and help solve world problems this way? What if the whole world would spend 10% now? That's a whole other story. I could give a whole talk about that, but we have looked into that and you can really solve a lot of world problems with that kind of money. That's really what we're appealing for, given what we can and are kind of looking about today.
Sjir,
Finish up.
reminder, final minute has started.
Thank you. Yeah, that's perfect timing because the last thing I want to say is to bring it all together. People take these pledges for different reasons, and they hear about this effective giving and think, "Oh no, I didn't know I could do so much good through charities," or they find out that they're actually among the most wealthy people in the world. And the thing I'd like to leave you with today is this question. Why not give it a try? The most important thing we find is that the most important reason I found people haven't done this so far is because they've never heard of it or because they've never tried it. And so what if the whole world would start just trying out by taking a 1% and giving 1% for a bit? That would already solve a lot of world problems. You are here, you are among the people that are pioneers at the School for More Ambition, and I really encourage you to consider this today. I'm happy to answer any questions on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sjir. Yeah, the claps are welcome. And I see lots of hearts and claps, so that's really, really great. Sjir, please stop sharing because we have a next one to talk to. But I already saw that there is a lot of interest in the chat. So I want to invite all of you, if you have any questions for Sjir, to ask them in the chat to him directly. And we would love to read along. So feel free, if you dare, to put them in the main chat. And then in the meantime, it's up to me to introduce our next guest and speaker. And we're super honored to welcome you here, Rob. And I think for those of you who have read the book Moral Ambition, you know about this guy because he is featured in one of the chapters as an amazing example of moral ambition and also running a very highly effective charity. So, Rob, no time to waste. The floor is yours for the next 10 minutes. Please share.
Thank you for the introduction, Julia, and thank you for inviting me. Good evening, everybody. So my name is Rob Mather. I'm the founder and the CEO of the Against Malaria Foundation. I set up AMF 20 years ago, and what I thought I'd do in the next 10 minutes is just give you an idea of what we do and how we do it, and give you an idea of some of the things that guide us in our work. So to set the scene about malaria, malaria is a big problem. It kills, I'm afraid, something like 600,000 people a year, and 250 million people fall sick. And not only is it a humanitarian problem, it's an economic problem, because when you're sick with malaria, you can't teach, farm, drive, function. And so if we want to sort out the economies in Africa or help improve economies in Africa, fixing malaria is a really good place to start. Under fives and pregnant women are particularly affected because they're vulnerable for developing immune system and compromised immune system when a woman is pregnant. And so it particularly tugs at the heartstrings, arguably, that the equivalent of something like 3 to 4 747s full of children under 5 die from malaria every day. And when I first started AMF, it was 7 747s. So we're making progress, but we're certainly still not there yet. And so that's the problem. A very big part of the solution is the humble bed net. $2 a net protects 2 people for about 3 years. So very small amounts of money. And roughly, 1,000 nets, something like that, equates to 1 death prevented and about 750 to 1,000 cases of malaria averted. So this causal area and the deployment of nets is really in the high impact arena, because you're looking at $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 equates to 1 death prevented. And given in most high income countries, our governments will spend about £30,000, $40,000 US dollars equivalent, extending our life by a year. We're talking about very effective use of money for fundamental, health outcome improvements, if you like. So the 4 guiding principles, I guess, that sit behind what we do at AMF start with impact. I mean, every charity is there to, every NGO is there to have an impact. And I think every charity should be able to very concisely describe what its impact is, or the impact it aims to have. And in our case, it's reduce deaths and reduce sickness from malaria. The other 3 guiding principles for us that are very, very important and intertwined with our work so we achieve what we want to achieve are accountability, efficiency, and transparency. And an example I would give of, the impact I've mentioned, relatively few $1,000 equals, a death averted. If we look at accountability sitting at the heart of what we do operationally, as I will often say, you don't really mess up on the amount of money you raise, but boy, can you mess up on how you do your work operationally. So we place huge emphasis on actually getting nets out in their millions and tens of millions to people in sub-Saharan African countries so that they end up over heads and beds and not elsewhere. And that means, without going into too much detail in the time we've got, our unit of accountability, if you like, is household level data in electronic form. And both of those are required. Household level data, because we want to know how many nets are needed at each household of the many millions of households to which we will distribute nets. And we want to know that information. We want to see that information in a database, because if it sits on paper in health centers, no chance of having any real accountability. So that phrase, if you like, household level data in electronic form, is at the heart of AMF's work, and it allows us to deliver on what we do. One data point that is accurate as of today is that of the last 181 million nets we've funded and with partners distributed, our lost, stolen, and damaged percentage is 0.09. So 99.91 is clearly a pretty good number. And even if you took out some doubts with some other data and not the lost, stolen, damaged, we're above 99%, effective delivery. And if we were to achieve that in any project in a capital city in a high income country, that would be pretty good going. And that's not just because of what we do at AMF, it's because we work very hard with other partners And it's a really big team effort to deliver nets, overheads, and beds. So accountability really important for us. Efficiency is really important as well. Obviously, the more efficient we can be, the greater the impact we can have. And so there are a number of ways in which we aim to be efficient. One is that we spend 100% of the money that the public gives us to buy nets. So that if somebody gives us $100, we will buy roughly 50 nets and they will protect 90 people. There's very little that comes off the top. Somebody once said to me, is it true, Rob, that 100% of the money of the $100 buys nets? How on earth can it be 100%? And I said, you're right, it's not 100%. It's an approximation. It's actually 102.4%. Because we take money that is given to us, and obviously we don't receive it in our bank account on day one, and it goes out on day two. We're talking about very large logistical programs, and we will make a commitment to a country several years in advance of the nets actually ending up overheads and beds, because these are major nationwide logistical programs producing nets, shipping them, distributing them throughout very large countries. And the interest we earn on the money in the bank also buys nets. So we're very efficient with people's money. We're also very efficient in that we aim to be very efficient in that, the money we need to spend to, central costs, the administration of our organization. We're very unusual as an organization in that we effectively don't pay for anything. So either a team of 15 of us, 13 people draw a salary, and our costs as an organization are 13 salaries plus taxes, plus some expenses when people go to Africa as they need to meet partners and so on, so hotels and flights. And apart from that, and one audit fee, we don't pay for anything. So we don't pay for accounting, banking, legal, translation, you name it, we don't pay for it. Because I've reached out to a lot of people over the years, particularly in the early years, and said, I don't think you need $5 more than a couple of children in Africa need a bed net. And I'm delighted to say human beings are wonderful. And so many people have turned around and said, I'll help. And so that means that we effectively don't have any of these costs and we don't need to spend donor money on them. Transparency is very important to us. And so we take every single one of the 1.4 million donations we've received over the last 20 years and we allocate them to a specific net distribution, so that each donor has their own page, no username and password, but it's encrypted, so only they, can see their page, and they can see every single donation they have given us, and they can see exactly how many nets it's funded, when and where they'll be distributed, and indeed they can follow the nets from manufacture through shipping, in-country transport, and eventually to distribution. So a very transparent echoing back, if you like, to the donor of this is what's happened to your money, rather than read our annual report at the end of the year. It engages donors. It's how all of us, I think, want to be treated. If I give you $100, Rob, I'd love to know where it's gone, please, and where the nets go. And that is unusual, it seems, in that in many charities, to date, we haven't found any other charity that does that. And I sometimes wonder why, because it's really good to let donors know what's happened to their money. We're a bit different as an organization in that whilst we've raised $800 million over the last 20 years, and about $500 million in the last 5 years, we've actually never done any marketing. We've never done any advertising. We've not spent a cent on any of them. In fact, we don't do any fundraising. And it is a true statement to say I've actually never asked anybody for any money in 20 years. What I have done is described what it is I want to try and achieve with help. And in other words, invite people to support us. So sometimes people come to us because they want our advice on fundraising, and there's a little bit of imposter syndrome because we've never done any fundraising. So we obviously have a very different model. I think that gives an idea of, the way we do what we do. I suppose the operating principles are that we automate the living daylights out of things. We're very low cost, as I guess I've given some insight into. And often we have a 20-minute approach to things. If we want to achieve something, how would we do it in 20 minutes as a way of a thought experiment so that we can move through the work we need to do really efficiently. And that translates itself into the efficient use of money that's entrusted to us, and also getting operational jobs done quickly so we build momentum and we move fast. It means that we're better able to help more people. So let me pause at that point. I don't know, Julia, if we've got any time for questions. I'm very happy to receive some, but thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Rob. Wow, great to hear this from you and how you work and get this done. Super inspiring. We have exactly 5 minutes for questions. So if there's someone who would like to ask their question themselves, please raise your hand. No time to hesitate. Yeah, raise your hand if you want to ask a question for Rob. This is your opportunity. Well, why people are still, I think, a bit shy, I can imagine. I do see that Stefan had a question in the chat, and he asks, are the nets also produced in Africa? So the money flows to the countries in the Southern Hemisphere? Can you speak about that, Rob?
Not really. Nets are a textile, which means economies of scale apply in manufacturing. And so there are 7 or 8 plants, effectively manufacturing facilities around the world. And predominantly they are in Vietnam, Thailand, and China. There is a production facility in Tanzania. And whilst it would be lovely to have manufacturing facilities in Africa so that the funds we pass across to those manufacturers is helping to employ people in Africa, the most important thing we have to think about as an organization is how can we protect the most people with the money that's entrusted to us? And when I let you know that when you're dealing with Africa-based manufacturers, you're sometimes looking at 10, 20% higher cost per net. You can imagine that there's a frontline decision we have to make. Do we protect 20% more people by buying the nets in Asia? And there are very, very established manufacturers who put huge amounts of money into R&D over the last 20 years. So these are good organizations that we work in partnership with. We want them to make a profit. We want them to invest in R&D because it's really important to come up with new types of nets. And we've seen that over the last 10 years in particular. There are moves to generate manufacturing or to start manufacturing, to increase manufacturing facilities in various African countries, but it's not been the case to date. And it's, it'd be nice to have, but the world doesn't work like that, I'm afraid. It's based on, sort of slightly different realities.
Thanks for the answer, Rob.
Thank you, Rob. I see many people adding many more questions in the chat. Rob, if you have a moment, it would be great if you could answer them there so everyone can read along. And thanks again, you and also Sjir, for sharing your stories. It's super insightful and inspiring. And I can imagine for all of you listening that it also makes you have a lot of thoughts about your giving and how you spend your time and how you spend your money. And the next part of this session is to help you reflect on that. So I'm going to share my screen again and explain what we're going to do next. So we're going into breakout sessions, and what I will invite you to do is to share with just one other person. So you will be in a room with just 2 people, yourself and someone else. And the purpose is that you can shape your thoughts on how you spend your money, how you think about giving, and ultimately, if taking one of those giving what we can pledges could be something for you, be it a trial, be it not a trial. So in this pairs of 2, you will get 4 minutes. And what I propose is that the first 2 minutes, one person talks. And you can just leave the person talking and you don't interfere. So they can just have all those random thoughts that come up with the question and help them organize a bit. After 2 minutes, I'll give you a sign and I'll invite the other person to start sharing. And then they can shape their thoughts. And we're going to do 2 rounds of this. Anyone who says, I really don't understand, that's fine. All right, I see Rob has to leave. Rob, thank you so much. Really great that you joined us. And I think we have thanks, Rob, bye-bye. Lots of things to talk about. So I propose that we're moving into the breakout rooms. And the first question that I'm inviting you to discuss is, why would you personally take a giving pledge? Be it 1% trial, be it 50% forever. But just your reflections. No right, no wrong. Quentin, do you have a question on this before we go?
Yeah, it wasn't completely clear to me as if there's also time for us to react on what the other said, or is it just one person talking 2 minutes and the other person then talking 2 minutes about themselves?
Fair point. I get this. Okay, we'll add an extra minute so you can have short, very short time to react on each other. Good suggestion, Quentin. Thanks. Thank you. All right. Marijn, if you're ready, please pair us up and everyone enjoy.
One second, they are coming up right now.
Yes. All right. See you in 5. Hé, Marijn heeft zichzelf ook ingedeeld. Kijk.
This is still being recorded, I guess, right? So.
Yep. Alleen heeft... Kak. Alleen zijn ze... Heeft Marijn hem verkeerd getimed.
Oh.
Kan ik dat aanpassen? Kan ik dit overrulen? Nee.
4 minutes.
Ja, dat is stom, want dan hebben ze geen tijd om met elkaar na te praten. Dat heb ik net beloofd. Wacht, ik bel haar wel even.
Oh, je kunt daar... Ah, dit is al veranderd.
Nee, ik kan het niet aanpassen.
Nee, ik zei ook niet, ik zeg.
Nee. Nou ja, dat is dan maar zo.
En
Oké,
hierna
wel
komen
echt
ze weer
impressive.
terug.
Ja, wel echt impressive wat Rob doet. Holy shit.
I know,
Heel
ja.
vet. Ga jij nu niks zeggen omdat dit wordt opgenomen?
Gaan we deze online zetten? Of,
Ja, maar dan knippen we dit er wel uit.
dat hoop ik dan. Ah.
Hey.
Hello, sorry, in my breakout room, the other person wasn't responding.
Oh, well, welcome. You can join us.
You can join us if you want. Still have a minute left.
Yeah.
Do you want to share what you were sharing?
Well, I wasn't yet talking to myself. I hadn't quite reached that point of desperation. But
Okay.
I've been following kind of giving what you can for a short while, and it's something I want to do. Once I get my first I just finished my master's and I'm not looking for work, so I would like to do it as soon as I get my first contract paycheck. That's the plan.
Cool.
So yeah, I don't really have much to add to that. I guess there's a small part of me that's like, at the early stages of my career, how much should I be giving? But then there's a much stronger part of me that is like, I'm in this very privileged few, already in the global system. So I feel like I kind of have more of a moral obligation to be donating. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand. I really enjoyed your presentation. Thank you for giving it.
Thank you. Great. Yeah.
What was
That's
your
great to
journey
hear, Oliver. Sorry?
What was your journey to giving what you can? I mean, I was surprised to hear that only a few years ago you gave your pledge, and now suddenly you're the CEO of the movement. Like that's quite a. Not everyone has that
Yeah.
path. That's quite a 0 to 100.
I think I have 3 seconds to answer, but Let's see. I might answer you later. I think, or are you calling people back, Julia, or not?
Yeah, I'm closing them now.
Okay.
But you still have, well, yeah, people can come in now.
Okay. I can quickly, I can say very quickly, it took me a long time. First seeing Peter Singer's TED Talk in 2015. That was how I was first introduced to the movement, basically. And then it took me a couple of years before I also had my own kind of income that I earned, and I felt like comfortable doing this, and was surrounded by people who were also doing it. So it took some courage for me as well to get started on this and take a trial pledge. And then when I'd done that, I just knew this was definitely for me. I could easily miss the money. I felt very privileged, and so I just never looked back, basically. Or I did look back and was just very happy I made the decision. That's what it is. So for me, it's really been a win-win. And that's a very personal thing, obviously, but it's been both adding meaning to my life and hopefully also adding a lot of value to other people's lives through the donations I've made.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I have the same experience. I'm sure I will.
So too.
Nice question, Oliver, and welcome back. Some of you, not everyone's back yet. Here you are. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you had a nice, even though very short chat with one other person in the space. I'm going to invite you back to another breakout room one more time. And this time, actually just simply the opposite question. So what would be your reason not to take a giving pledge? Yeah, that's it, Marijn. I think we can go again. 2 times 2 minutes, plus 1 for sharing.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll be with someone else. And there will be some space for questions when you return. So have a good chat. Yep. Bye-bye. Hey Marijn.
Hey, you.
Hi, sorry, ik had jou gebeld, want ik dacht, kut, hij is maar 2 minuten. Maar je hebt het juist heel slim gedaan, want je hebt nog een extra minuut altijd.
Ja, nee, ik had het dus niet goed van jou begrepen. Ik dacht dat we nu in deze breakout room gelijk allebei die vragen gingen bespreken. Dus hij duurde
Nee.
wel 4 minuten.
Ja,
En deze
ook 4.
ook, maar we kunnen hem ook eerder sluiten.
Nee, helemaal niet. Maar we hadden juist afgesproken met 1 deelnemer dat ze nog een extra minuut kreeg om te overleggen daarna.
Oh, ja. Nou, dan is het dus toch goed gegaan. Nu zijn ze dus 4 minuten, maar dan heb je wel daarna altijd nog de
Ja.
1 minuut sluiten. Ik kan ze ook eerder sluiten.
Nee, niet doen. Dus dan is het perfect
Oké.
na 4 minuten sluiten. Dan gaat het
Oké.
precies goed.
Ja, want we zitten best goed in de tijd. Ze hebben nog een kwartier. Ja, dan zitten we best goed, toch?
Ja, het gaat precies goed, want dan
Ja.
zijn ze om 20 terug en dan heb ik nog 8 minuten om te spreken.
En krijgen we nog een live ledger? Oeh, cool. Leuk. Oh, er zit even iemand in de wachtruimte. Die
Enjoy.
laat ik even binnen.
Ja. Laat jij diegene binnen? Hallo.
Hi, Paris. I have no idea how to pronounce it, but you're joining a meeting that has just a lot of people in breakout rooms, so that's why nothing's happening right now. But in 2 minutes, everybody will be back.
Did you just join us, Paris, or did you already join for the earlier part? Just join now. Okay. All right. You have missed a big part with the introduction and the giving part, but it will be recorded and shared with you. But you're welcome to stick around and to follow up what everyone, yeah, would like to share after. All right. Dus even dit scherm delen. Ooh, did you touch the final slide? What is this?
Welke slide? Oh,
I don't
een
know.
code. Wacht, zal ik hem maar uithalen?
Ja,
Ja, hij is weg. Oh,
thanks.
dat is raar. Ik sluit nu de rooms.
Ja. Hello, welcome back.
Hello.
Hello. Waiting for the others. Mhm. Welcome back, Stefan.
Thank you.
Other ones joining as well. Yes. Hey, welcome back. Still waiting for the rest to drop in. They are closing. Let's see. Yeah, conversation still going for a little bit.
Yeah, it closes them automatically after a minute. I think
Yeah.
you can come back.
That's fair. Then people have the chance to end the conversations. Yes. Hey, welcome back. I hope this wasn't a too rough ending of your one-on-one, a really short one. I hope you had a good conversation. Is there anyone who would like to share some reflection on the talk you just had or the talks you just heard? Yeah, Luke, please share.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with the latter one. So why I wouldn't consider doing a pledge, because I'm putting a lot of time and effort in nonprofit right now for the past year, and my income even went down with 40%, 40. So why would I give 10% of my income if 40% is going into a nonprofit, but well, with hands and mind and time and with less time to make money in with my profession.
Yeah, fair challenge.
Yes.
Sjir, do you want to reflect on that?
Sure. I mean, every personal situation is different, and there might be reasons why, indeed, if you're not in a financial position to give, we don't think everyone should necessarily always take a 10% pledge or a trial pledge. We do think that even people working at nonprofits often are in a good position to still give, and that often the giving itself is also super impactful. So a general view on this is kind of like the one doesn't have to conflict with the other. I think in your personal situation, because you went back 40%, maybe it feels like a bigger sacrifice as well because you were higher up first. But I think the question we often ask ourselves is, what if we had started here? Would we still think the same way? And ultimately, I think that's completely to you personally. And in some cases, you don't want to give more, but it's worth asking and worth asking yourself where you're at and what you can do with your resources at that point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sjir, and also Luke, thanks for sharing so openly. I can imagine. Is there anyone who feels, well, motivated to take a pledge or is like want to share your thoughts on giving, be it positive or negative, all welcome? Yeah, Alejandra?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to maybe listen to some opinion on this. So, for instance, for me right now, I am looking for a job. I have like unemployment money. Still, is a good amount of money if you're living in a European country, at least where I am in Germany. And I stopped donating for a while because I was unemployed, but I still get this money. And recently I just realized like I am still traveling with this money. I'm still doing other stuff. And why did I stop my donation somehow? No. So I restarted, but I guess there is a psychology behind that, like how easy it is to spend on like this comfort and then how you know, like because yeah, if I do 5% or 10%, like for sure I spend that easily on a trip 1 week or something like that. But then to put it just one place, I'm like, oh no, maybe I will just give like 50. So far, like literally, I've been giving like, I don't know, 2%, but I don't come easily to the 10 or to the 5. So I guess I would like to listen to opinions, how to unblock maybe this or yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Alejandra. Nice. Is there anyone who has an idea who they want to share or something that surprised them? Connor?
Yeah, I something that's been very, very helpful for me is that I realize that my money is my power to make the change that I want to see in my life and in the world. And so it's kind of like changed my perspective from buying the things that are fun for myself or the experiences that I want for myself, and instead like this is the vehicle through which I'm trying to invest in the future that I want to see. And so now it's been easier for me to look at almost all of the money that I make as that, like that's the pool of funds that I have available to try to buy the change I want to see in the world and to become part of that. And that's been fun for me. So, and thanks for this. This has been awesome. I like this meeting.
Cool. I see a hand from Gert. Please share.
Yeah, thanks so much for organizing this and putting all the arguments um, uh, in a row. And also hearing Sjir and Rob made me realize I've been thinking like, oh yeah, I will be taking this pledge at some point sooner or later. And there was always just some excuse like I was about to buy a house or I needed the savings, and then I bought the house, and then I didn't have any savings anymore, so I wanted to save more, and then maybe I'll change the jobs or I'll need more savings. And looking at this, I'm just thinking it's time to end all these stupid excuses. I can afford this, and the time is now. So can I pledge like right now? Can I? Did I do it? Is this?
Whoa. Okay, that's very forward, Gert. A bit more than we even expected, but that's great. Yes, of course you can. Do you know how it's done?
Do I sign something, or is
Well,
there a link?
there is definitely a link. Let me share it with you. Um, that's I think we can have some. Oh, there it already is in the chat. That's really amazing. Thank you, Gert. I'm going to give one more person the word, and then we get back to you to see if you really, if you want to say one more thing after finding the link. Is there anyone who dares to, or still wants to chat after Gert? Vincent.
Yes, I'm just retired, and many people are saying bad things about retirement and oh, the pension is too low. I'm amazed I get money without doing anything. I mean, it's crazy. It would be crazy that I'm not pledging getting money without doing anything, although I do many things in my free time. I'm very active. So I think every retired person who gets a pension, well, I mean, we can pledge really a lot because we don't need that much.
Wow. Does this mean you're following Gert, Vincent? Silence. You keep us waiting. Okay. Well, for all of you, we're going to end with Gert now. But I'm going to just share what's next for you wherever you are. First of all, we thought it was super cool that you joined us, and are really excited to see so many familiar and new faces. And I can imagine this is just the start of exploring what effective donating could mean for you and for the people in your environment. So, whenever you're ready, if you feel like I'm so convinced I'm following Gert. I'm going to take a trial pledge, or I'm even going to take a 10% pledge and make the commitment today. You're very welcome to. But to be honest, it also took me months and maybe even years to get to that point, to take the 10% pledge myself. And I can imagine you may also, want to have some time to discuss it with your friends, your family, and maybe some experts. So in the case that you find this a bit too soon, then we will also invite you to a one-on-one with someone from the Giving What We Can team. James, I don't think he's in this call, but he offered to have one-on-ones with everyone who feels like they want to explore more, learn more. So you can plan it directly via this QR code, but also tomorrow you receive the follow-up email that will also invite you to have this one-on-one conversation. So for both, you're very welcome to. And I read in the chat that James Wrighton from Giving What We Can is fantastic, so highly recommend it. Yes. So I almost want to end by thanking you for joining, sharing your time, learning more about effective giving. Really, really cool that you joined us today. What you can still do is share your feedback so we can always improve what we're doing. But before I tell you goodbye, I want to give the final word to Gert because I'm so curious if you really took the pledge now. And if so, how does it feel?
Well, it feels like I did it now, but I'm also still struggling to log in because I took a trial pledge a while back, but I need to reset my password, I guess. So uh, uh, but I'll definitely let you know if I succeeded, and otherwise I'll call you up to talk me through the process.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks, Gert, for your courage. Thanks, all of you, for joining. I wish you a really good day, evening, night. And if you decide to take the pledge, please drop us a message. We would love to hear from you and celebrate together and invite you to our community of pledgers. So, well, have a good night and see you next time.